Hey everyone, so this is the completely redesigned 2022 Acura MDX. And this has been a long time coming. This has heavy hitters that it competes against. Things like the Lexus RX L, the BMW X5, the Audi Q7, the new Genesis GV80, and many more. And to be honest, I would have not recommended the last generation. I mean, if you didn't want a ton of tech, you wanted something reliable, the previous generation MDX was good. This, however, is a serious competitor now, and we are going to go over that in detail. And before we get started, guys, be sure to subscribe to CarGurus, hit the bell, that way you guys never miss an upload. Like this video at the end if you enjoyed it, but let's go ahead and jump in. So this is going to be the A-Spec trim level on the new MDX. Now this color is called Liquid Carbon Metallic. Beautiful color, lots of pearl effect into it. And this grille is the diamond pentagon grille. Now you had this on the previous gen MDX, however here it's much wider. The logo is also massive on here. Obviously it houses a lot of your radar for your adaptive cruise, things like that, but it's still very, very large. You have this black area going around the grille because this is the A-Spec trim level. Once you come to the headlights, full LED headlights are very, very thin, which is pretty cool. And you have the chicane LED running underneath that. Now, as you move down, you have this really cool area here, though it is not going to be a functional vent. And then once you come down here, you are going to have functional grille shutters here just to increase aerodynamic efficiency. All right, so coming to the side of the MDX, you have these 20-inch gunmetal gray wheels. You're gonna have your A-Spec badge right here, blacked out mirror caps. As you come down, you have this blacked out area down here. The window surrounds are gonna be blacked out on the A-Spec trim level, and you've got this nice strong character line that runs all the way down the side of the vehicle. Now at the back of the new MDX, very simplistic. Simple lines, blacked out trim here, this new chicane LED, which has this nice kind of three-dimensional effect going on, and then your rectangular-ish exhaust tips. So under the hood of the 2022 MDX, now this is a carryover engine from the previous generation MDX. It's the same 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6, still 290 horsepower, 267 pound-feet of torque. This is hooked up, however, now to a 10-speed automatic transmission, and fuel economy is going to be 19 city, 25 highway, 21 combined. Now that is for the super handling all-wheel drive. If you get a trim level that has just front-wheel drive, it goes up 1 mpg on the highway and 1 mpg combined. Now this engine is interesting. I'll save my impressions for whenever we take it driving, but it is a nice reliable engine. It's been in production for a while. Enough about what has not changed. Let's get into the inside where literally everything has changed. All right, so here we are. Look at this interior. This is amazing. Miles better than the previous generation MDX. And if you've been in the new RDX, this will look very familiar, but you just have more things and it's a lot wider because it's a lot wider of a vehicle, bigger of a vehicle, all that. Now, lots to go over here, so let's get started. Big wireless charging pad. This can accommodate basically any new phone on the market. It's just huge, and it works very, very quickly, even with the case on, I found in my experience. Right above that, you have this nice little area to kind of rest your hand and utilize your little touch pad here. Right next to that, you're gonna have your volume control for your sound system, basically. A little bit of storage space, cup holders. If you lift this up, decent amount of storage space in here, and you have another little area located right on top. I love this little peekaboo pop-up charging port area. You have a USB and a USB-C for fast charging. You're gonna have heated seats, ventilated seats for driver and passenger. I love this dynamic mode selector, and when you switch to the modes, it makes a really cool sound. Very cool. And when you switch to the mode, it is going to change your instrument cluster, which is all new. It looks incredible. And when you go through comfort, normal, and sport, those are really the only three that it's going to change the look of it. The most drastic change is going to be in sport, and you also have an individual mode, and you're also going to have a snow mode as well. You're gonna have your push button shifter. If you put it into reverse though, you do not have a 360 camera. You can get a 360 camera, but not on the A-Spec trim. There's actually three major things you can't get here on the A-Spec. You can't get a heated steering wheel, 360-degree camera, or a head-up display. You can only get that on the advanced package. Other than that, you have dual zone climate control. As you go up, you have all this piano black, which contrasts nicely against this beautiful red. And then right above that, there's this aluminum trim, which has the coolest design, and in person it looks amazing. You also have the same thing on your door panels. As we move up, you have a full leather dash with red contrast stitching, a new 12.3-inch display, which looks incredible, and it is feature loaded. Wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay. You have built-in Alexa. It still came on. I tried to not do it. You do have built-in Her. You have cabin talk, so you can speak to the people in the back by amplifying your voice through the microphones. And you also have a feature called social playlist, which I think is really cool. It's sort of like passing around an auxiliary cord, but people can hook up to the in-car's Wi-Fi and shoot songs to a playlist. It'll put it all into a queue, so everyone can listen to their music by just shooting in whatever song they want. I think it's pretty cool. You're gonna have this ELS Studio 3D sound system, which sounds amazing. You're gonna have 3 memory seat settings for driver and passenger, as well as this updated steering wheel with the flat bottom here on the A-Spec, paddle shifters for your 10-speed auto, and then things like red contrast stitching. And get this, your wireless charging pad, heated seats, 12.3-inch display, and your updated instrument cluster all come standard on any MDX, as well as more features we'll talk about in just a bit. However, there are a few negatives. This touchpad may be bothersome from some people. I personally don't mind it. I don't mind the gloss black either, but I can see this bottom portion at least getting scratched up and scuffed just because you'll be using this area a lot to shift and things like that. And the ambient lighting here isn't as nice as I would expect it to be on a flagship vehicle. The new TLX actually has more ambient lighting at night than this MDX. Other than that, it's a shockingly good interior. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn close. Let's go ahead and check out the back row. All right, so in the second row of the 2022 MDX. Now sitting behind myself, I'm about 6 feet tall for reference. I've got a good amount of room. Now this is all the way at its furthest position. You can also move it forwards and backwards if you need to, as well as recline the seat as well. And it reclines at a pretty good angle, so that's very nice. Now you're going to have things like 2 USB ports, a 12 volt, your vents, because you do have tri-zone climate control, which is actually a standard feature on any MDX. And you have 2 cup holders here, as well as a decent amount of storage space. But check this out. If I pull this will actually fold up into a 3rd seat. And even crazier, if I pull this tab at the bottom, you can actually fully remove this seat to make this like a captain's chair style setup. You also have this gigantic panoramic roof, which just looks incredible. It floods in so much light into this beautiful cabin, and that is also going to be a standard feature. You also have things like your sunscreen shades here, so if you have infants with sensitive skin, if you have a device and you don't want any glare, you can throw that up. And materials back here are pretty good, so is the storage space in the door. And then you also have the same materials as the front, really nice leather, nice microfiber inserts here in the middle, but it's a pretty solid second row. Let's check out the 3rd row. Once again, I'm around 6 feet tall for reference, and I don't fit back here. But I don't think it's meant for people like me. It's definitely meant for people a little bit smaller. So my knees are definitely touching the back of this seat. Surprisingly, my feet room is great. The seats sit high enough to where I can slide my feet underneath. I do also wish the rear seats would recline even just a bit, just that way I'm not sitting so upright. Surprisingly, the headroom is better than expected, though my big hair is still touching a bit. It is definitely meant for smaller children and just for use in a pinch. All right, so coming to the cargo area of the 2022 Acura MDX. Now, you do have increased cargo capacity compared to the previous generation. Now, you have an additional 3.3 cubic feet behind the second row, an additional 2.3 cubic feet behind the 3rd row. And you also have this new floor design, which is pretty cool. So right now, it's in the lower tier setting, which gives you a deeper area to put things like bigger boxes or something like that. And then if I lift this up, you're gonna have a spare tire underneath here, by the way. I can pull this out, put this here, that way if I want to fold down this 3rd row, I have a completely flat loading floor. Another thing is pretty cool, I can actually get this, turn it around, then I have a hard surface. So if you have that 3rd row up and you have things that are dirty, anything you may need to rinse off, you can put it on this side, that way it doesn't mess up your carpet. Pretty cool. Okay, so driving the Acura MDX. Now let's talk about the basic things. So things like visibility. It's a big SUV, so visibility is great. Massive front windshield, good size mirrors, plus things like all of your safety systems, blind spot, good view out of the back. Even with the 3rd row headrest up, I can see plenty. And then blind spots are pretty minimal. And then even the view over my left shoulder is pretty good as well. Ergonomics are great. I love the feel of this updated steering wheel. It definitely feels sportier. Now let's talk about the way this drives. So this does have a new double wishbone front suspension. Acura is touting that very hard because Acura is basically going back to being what they were known for in the 90s, which is this great performance brand of Honda. And they started with the suspension. And things like the NSX have this double wishbone front suspension. Why would you want that on an SUV? Well, it just makes the whole thing a lot sportier. It handles better. The ride still feels firm. It feels sportier than I remember on the previous generation, but it's not beating you up by any means. You just feel a little bit more connected, which is always a good thing. One thing I am finding myself missing is a head-up display. And it's funny because I personally associate a head-up display with sportier driving. You're focused more on the road. You want all your information here on the windshield. So the fact that the A-Spec, which is the sportiest trim, doesn't have it, just kind of doesn't compute in my mind. But, you know, let me know what you guys think. I personally think it'd be cool to have on the A-Spec. All right, let's talk about this engine. So from a stop, it's pretty good. I'm in normal mode right now. It could be quicker. I wonder if that will be different if I switch into sport mode. Okay, sport mode, getting on it. That's all the way down. And the pickup is good. The 10-speed does take a bit to find the right gear, but it doesn't feel very enthusiastic when it comes to acceleration. As a matter of fact, I think the Turbo 4 in the RDX would be a better fit for this because A, it makes more torque. You drive torque, it's a lighter engine, and whereas this is making torque way up in the RPM, you get your torque down lower in the Turbo 4. Now, most people buying this car would probably scoff at the idea of, you know, a 4-cylinder over a V6. But if you can get over that mindset, I personally think it would be a better offering, or at least offering it as an entry-level engine. Maybe offering this as an entry-level engine, you can step up to the Turbo 4 and then the Type S, which is going to be coming later. And it would be a nice way to make this even cheaper, which we'll talk about pricing a little bit later. Speaking of the Type S, yes, there is a Type S version coming that is going to have the same twin-turbo V6 as going to be in the Type S TLX. And that's obviously going to be the one to have, but we all know it's going to be more expensive. All right, let's talk about competition. So once again, you have things like Lexus, which is a very proven brand, very reliable. The good thing with Acura is they are part of Honda, who is also known to be reliable. So that is a good plus for their vehicles as well. But compared to the Germans, it is down on things like features. It is down on things like power. And even compared to something as new and as recent as the Genesis GV80, the top engine offering in that is a twin turbo V6, and that's not necessarily the performance version of that vehicle. That engine is a beast. It moves that SUV pretty darn quick. Now, this is cheaper than the GV80, so maybe once we get to the Type S, it'll be a little bit more fair of a comparison. All right, so maneuvering the MDX. Now, I'm pulling into just a little parking spot here. For a big vehicle, it's actually very easy to maneuver around parking lots and things like that. The backup camera works fine despite not having a 360-degree camera. I do wish that kind of came standard, but you know, hey, can't be perfect. Last thing to talk about is pricing. This is very, very competitively priced. This starts at $46,900 before destination. Now that's for a base MDX front-wheel drive, but remember, you still get things like your wireless charging pad, big screen, panoramic roof, heated seats. And in this one, in A-Spec form, this is around $57,000 before destination, and then the top trim is going to be around $60,000 once again before destination. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is overpriced? Do you think it's underpriced? Do you think it's perfectly priced? Want to know what you guys think? Well, everyone, that is going to wrap up the review of the 2022 Acura MDX A-Spec. Very, very impressive SUV, just miles better than the previous generation. I think Acura really came with their full force on this vehicle, as they should. This is a very popular segment. SUVs are popular in general, especially in the United States, and this is an incredible offering. So if you're in the market and you're even mildly thinking about this, I highly suggest it. It is incredible. Acura, you have done a very, very good job. Obviously, it's not perfect, so things I would like to see, I really do think having a turbocharged engine as a base offering would be something that would just make it feel more exciting. They've done a great job at making this new MDX sportier feeling, so I think a sportier engine is in need. However, if you like the reliability of this, if you want something that's a little bit smoother, more predictable, this is always a good offering. It's just not very enthusiastic when it comes to its response in terms of this V6. Other than that, the interior has very minor faults. The third row isn't as useful as it could be, but once again, if you need one in a pinch, it's a good option, and it's always nice to have that extra space if you don't need the third row. But let me know what you guys think of this MDX. I think, once again, it's incredible, and we'd love to have you subscribe to CarGurus. Be sure to visit us on cargurus.com, and we'll see you guys in the next review.